Well, I'm live. Huh? Kind of sounds like I'm in a cage, you know? Well, the world is kind of a cage. You know, it's a prison here. It's really we're trapped in these flesh prisons. Of course, try to make do the best we can. Try to use what we have as to gain comfort and avoid being unpleasant experiences. So I've been like, I get on here and it's kind of a game for me because who would want to spend time listening to this guy with his problems? So I guess I can start out by talking about my experience at the dentist. This tooth right here, I had, and it was full of fillings. It had like two or three fillings in it, and it was turning gray, and it was hurting. One of my fillings cracked. So I went to the dentist, and basically three choices, right? Just pull the tooth and be done with it and live without a tooth in my mouth, or spend the extra money and they could drill out the filling that failed and then refill it with a new filling material. And that would have been such and such an amount of money. And then there was, well, if it in the future, if it fails. And then there was get a crown put on. And I had a crown put on in my back molar like 9 years ago. And I went to the same dentist and I said, well, he said, well, we could put a crown on it. It looks like it's okay. It doesn't look like we need to do a root canal. I mean, they didn't say me at the time, but so I went ahead and had them do the crown on that tooth. So they removed all the amalgam and ground it down and left a post, part of my tooth sticking up as a post there, and then did a cast of my existing tooth. Made a cast of it before they did that, and then they had it. They had the materials there to make it a solid cast, or make a solid tooth temporarily, and put that on there. And then they got a crown made out of the other material. It's more like a really hardened plastic. So I had them do that, right? So I went in there and they did it, and I was like, oh, and it hurt, right? Because it was sore after the anesthetic wore off. And then gradually it started healing, and then I noticed, oh, I was okay. I was started eating regularly and just chewing stuff, and then it started hurting in the evenings. Later, it started hurting. First, it hurt in the late evening, and then the next day it hurt more in the earlier part. As each day progressed, it hurt more in the early on in the day, and finally it was. So I went back to the dentist, and he said, well, it's sticking up taller than the other teeth. That's why you're bearing down on it. So it's hurting more. So he adjusted the height of the tooth to match the other teeth in my mouth. So a few days went by, and it's getting better, and the evening pain's going away. And then it was fine for about like a week, right? And I noticed little by little, gradually it was starting to hurt again in a different place, because the pain was coming from like the center inside of my tooth. The pain that I was feeling was like the nerve was right dead in the dead center of my tooth. So it got to be really painful. You know, I started taking aspirin. I started taking one aspirin, and then in the evening, and I was taking two aspirin, and then I was taking a microdosing of the aspirin, one every hour of the smaller size. So I have this aspirin here. It's a 31 micrograms. or 18 milligrams, or 81 milligrams. Well, it shows it backwards, but it says 81 milligrams. I was taking that, and I was taking the bear aspirin. And I put this in my water. I have this in a bunch of these, and I put them in the water. And so we have another one. This is supposed to potassium lowers the blood pressure. That's the way I understand it. So I've been taking this in with my vitamin C. It looks frustrating. It's mirrored over. So I've been doing that. And what else have I done? I've been getting this mail, right? Somebody keeps mailing me mail to be more to support neglected animals, abandoned animals, abused animals, puppy mills, animal experimentation, animal rights, people for the ethical treatment of animals, organizations to help stop animal cruelty. Well, I never give them any money. I just throw it away, and I would have to personally go somewhere and volunteer, like actually be at an animal shelter or be around the animals and change their bedding and wash their cage and give them food, give them bedding, give them attention. That my times that for me, I have to use my own personal time for any kind of activism like that. But I get on here and I try to promote veganism, vegan diet, plant-based diet for ethical reasons. And it's like, well, that's like virtue signaling. That's like trying to tell everybody else out there that you're ethical, you are this way ethically. Look at me, I'm this way ethically. Look at me, everybody, I'm ethical. I am a compassionate person. I'm kind. I love that. I want animals not to have horrible experiences. I care about my fellow sentient creatures in the world. Look at me, and I put a badge out there, an indicator out there that says vegan for the animals on my face. It's sort of like, well, am I being like, is that virtue signaling? Is that like pointing my finger at someone else, trying to make them feel guilty or bother them that, oh, next time they're eating a meal, they see my face and I said this about myself, they'll be like not to be able to enjoy their burger or their steak or their, tuna fish sandwich or ham or bologna or whatever they're eating. I'm interfering with their enjoyment of their food because I'm virtue signaling myself. Look at me, everyone. Or I'm like, they work at a meat packing plant, or they're a stockholder in a meat packing company, or they own stock in a factory farm, or their family has always raised animals for a living, and that's what they do for their livelihood. And other people that come around and try to speak out against that, they shouldn't have a puppy mill. They shouldn't be breeding all these dogs, right? Because then there's all these dogs that are sick and that no one wants, and they're left out, abandoned, and now it's like the taxpayer has to carry the burden of how they're going to have to euthanize all these extra animals, because there's all these dogs in these dog shelters that no one wants, and they have to euthanize them. And cats too. So, and somehow, I'm responsible for that. If I give these people money, they're going to fix that problem. No, this is about animal cruelty here. So, Animal Legal Defense Fund. So I'd have to go there and meet the people and see what they're doing and go to different trials and courtroom proceedings and be involved with that and be a witness to that and show up in a public meeting. And then I'd be more willing to give them money to help them out. I could meet them personally and say, oh, you're doing this as you're volunteering your time to support the ending animal abuse, ending animal cruelty. But I see, well, I do that with my diet, right? When I get on here in a public forum and I talk about my diet being, well, that's how I don't want animal cruelty in the world. If everybody was vegan, which is impossible, it's not that way. If that was a norm and those meat eaters were only people that had to hunt or fish because of where they lived at, they didn't get enough nourishment, or there was not enough vegetable protein, vegetables and fruits and nuts and grains, that was got like really scarce. All of a sudden there was no all of a sudden where you live, all of a sudden there's no animal protein available for you. So if you're a meat eater and you get into a situation where there's no food available for you at the grocery store, there's no chicken or pork or steak or ham or fish or anything like that in the meat department, all that is not there anymore for you, and all you had to eat was like vegan foods, vegetables, vegetarian foods, would people resort to cannibalism? Because I know like cannibalism is in our DNA history of our own species. We can like find it in an ancient part of our DNA. We find the evidence of there being prions, I think they're called. Yeah, I'm gonna have to change the music. It's getting a little bit repetitious. We'll see. It was like an experiment, I was gonna do this experiment. Put a melody on that was like continuously repeating over and over again. If it wasn't copyrighted, well, it is part of it's a Beethoven. It's part of a song written by a symphony written by Beethoven. Da 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 da. Da 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 My thumbnail now is that's part of the Eta Carina Nebula. I just found a part of the nebula that had some kind of weird shapes of the gas or the dust in the nebula. It kind of had an odd looking, might have been a face in there. So if you look at the Eta Carina Nebula, you can see ghouls and goblins and demons and dragons and faces of trolls and like drunken people at a party. You see a face like that. If you look through those clouds, you use your imagination. Your imagination will like see a cloud like shape in the nebula in the telescope's image. It'll just be like your brain will look at and see a face in there. So yeah, I think Carl Sagan talked a lot about that in his book Demon Haunted World, about the propensity to see faces because our brains are wired for recognizing facial features and remembering faces. So when we look at a natural feature, we might see an old stump in the woods, and it has it looks like a wizard, or it has a dragon, or it's like a frog or some weird animal, right? Or the shape of a bear or something. You might see that in the wood or in a stone, or because your mind immediately will look at a whole different bunch of patterns, and your brain will automatically find that pattern that's more familiar with you. And that would be a face, right? So you look at the nebula, look at the Eta Carina Nebula cloud. I think it's the Eta Carina, yeah, part of the Eta Carina Nebula. And you might be able to actually look at my picture profile and say, "Oh, I see what he got there," So, but it's like people are so hyper conscientious of their having to be original. They have to be the first one. They have to be the pioneer. They have to be the one that paves the way. They have to be the one that is the first one to make an utterance or make some claim or have a proposal or present an idea that's just unique to them that no one's ever talked about before. Because no matter how much you say or what you say, it's always, oh, that's already been said before. Oh, someone already discussed that before. Oh, that's an old idea. It's been around a long time. Oh, that's been, overly talked about. Too many people have talked about that for too long, over and over again, too much. And I've already heard all that. I know it. I don't want to hear somebody else just rehashing over that all over again that I already know. So I won't waste my time. Or it's like the eternal return, right? Nietzsche tells a story about a demon that appears, and the demon tells you your life exactly as you know it. You'll have to live again and again and again and again. And the answer to the demon was, well, if that's the way it's going to be, I'll just accept that as that. There's nothing I can do about it, no matter how much I try or what I would think or what I would will or what I would intend or how I would behave or any actions or any objects, any behaviors that I perform or anything that I do or say or think. Well, inevitably that will come to pass. There will be an eternal return, an eternal recurrence. So Nietzsche had that idea, and it's like troublesome. It's annoying. It's bothering. It's existentially creates angst to think, well, I'm going to do all this and go through all this, and then I'm going to get old and feeble and weak, and my mind won't work. I won't be as clear-minded and sharp and have as good a memory as I used to have, and things will pass, and the world will pass me by, and then my body, my corpse will be all burnt up, and all of my books that I have now, and my audio library, and my video library, and my DVDs, and my computer equipment, and electronics, and my automobile, and all the objects that I have around me right now that I surround myself with, those will be broken up and spread out and disposed of. Either someone will go through all of my things and throw everything away, and it will be part of I'll be a layer. I'll be part of the landfill. So all of my most of my things, a lot of my things will become buried in a landfill at the Pierce County dump. So my possessions, my belongings, a lot of my possessions and my belongings will be a layer in the ground over, and it'll just like become like part of the strata in the geology. It'll just be condensed, squished down into a layer of like sand, of like a shale, mud shale, dried up, compact, and I will never be. No one will say, "Hey, what happened to blah blah blah? Where did he go? What did he do?" And there will be no like real significant record of me ever having been here, because there was never really any great anything that was a significant accomplishment where I left where I impressed upon history something of myself that was notable. It was like epic or legendary, whatever. So everybody, I was written down in encyclopedias and in the news articles talked about my name, and there was people wrote biographies about me, blah, 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 blah. So that never happens. I just live my life and I die and I'm forgotten. And it was after I pass away, within a matter of a year or two, it'll be just like I had never been born at all on this world. And that we have to let a lot of other people go through that process. We have to make someone else here cause a new person, so that they have to go through that. And maybe one out of every like thousands and thousands and thousands, there will be one person that will be like a notable person that will like write a symphony or compose a great work of art, or make a beautiful painting, or help cause some notable artwork to be or a scientist where you invent a cure for something. or your cure, part of a cure, you're part of a, whatever you do in your profession is like, wow, that would be like if you had never been born, that profession would be totally different today because you had never been born. Or you were involved in like you did some civil engineering or some great master work, right? A bridge or like a building or some kind of edifice or an endeavor, and that went on and lasted and outlived you because it was so necessary for the people to live and have that as part of their culture, as an way of enhancing their own people's life's experiences. So if you're not one of those people, you don't make any contribution to the world. So it's like, well, I always think of that episode of the Star Trek, the TV series, the first show, Star Trek. And one of the episodes, they went to a planet, and there was this one side of the planet was warring with this side of the planet. So there was always this war going on between this side and this side. And over time, the wars that they had, they couldn't end the wars. So they eventually they made it so it was like a game, and they had an area of the planet, this part of the planet, if there was an attack, and they had it all on a game, like a computer game. And if that part of the planet was attacked, then all those people that lived in that one area, they would have to report to the disintegration chamber. And it was just an accepted part of the normal life that everybody accepted, that there's this war going on and there's one side battling another side. And when their weapon hits that on the computer screen, when the weapon hits that part of the planet, they're forced to go to these, they're not, people aren't really, they're like, well, they're forcing me, so I just give in, and they go to these disintegration chambers. So in this story, somehow the Enterprise is like in that one area, and so they tell them they have to beam everybody down to go to the disintegration chambers. But it was an interesting, it was an interesting idea. They were playing that thought experiment that they could make the episode of the TV series and put that thought experiment, explain it or present it in an entertaining way. So I ought to really change this. I think it's getting to be like a background noise, right? It's like that movie, movie Clockwork Orange. That's why I was thinking, one of my all-time favorite musicians is that I admired for like hearing their songs was Wendy Carlos. I think she did the background music or some of the theme music for Clockwork Orange. On a Moog synthesizer. That's what this is, a Moog synthesizer. So if you have to go to the dentist and have a crown put on, make sure you sterilize the inside of your mouth really good with antiseptics. Get a really strong antibacterial mouthwash, right? And wash your mouth out before you go to the dentist. Wash your mouth out really good, so there's any kind of bacteria in your mouth can't get contact inside of the tooth area where they're going to put the crown on top of. That, and never smoke cigarettes, right? If anybody ever offers you nicotine or anything with nicotine in it, absolutely no. Too addictive. You might like it, right? And then you'll get addicted to it too. So it's the same thing with cannabis. I can't emphasize enough to anybody out there that's never tried cannabis, that's curious about it, don't ever try it, because what's going to happen is you'll try it and you'll like it and have a good experience and feel good on it. And then you're more likely in the future to use it. You habituate yourself to using it regularly and become dependent on it psychologically. You might not like not having it, so you'll have it as much as you can. If you live in a legal cannabis state where there's a cannabis store right down the street from you that sells different varieties of different cannabis products, and it might be that you're old and you're retired and you have aches and pains and you use it for helping you sleep and helping you like with toothaches, or aches in your joints or whatever, problems you're having physically and you're not comfortable. Find you can use cannabis and it helps relieve the pain or it'll distract you. It'll take your attention off of the pain. That's what I noticed when I had when my tooth was really, really aching really hard at night. I would smoke the cannabis and it would take my mind off of it because I'd be laying there and I'd be, I'd feel it, right? And then I'd smoke some cannabis, it'd take my mind off it. But if you work at a drug-free workplace and you're an air traffic controller, or you're driving a semi, or you're a pilot, you're piloting, or you're driving a city bus, or you're operating a piece of machinery that if you don't operate it correctly, it could injure or cause a lot of property damage, monetary damage, and you're in your job. You're trying to do a job and be really conscientious of what's going on around you because it's a dangerous environment. And a small error in judgment while you're working, if you're under the influence of a drug while you're at work, any small misjudgment or miscalculation in your thinking while you're doing your job could be a safety hazard. So if you're on a drug-free workplace, then your job might be union and it might pay really well too. So there's that. And if you lost your job or if they caught you, then you would be stuck because they wouldn't promote you, right? You'd have a record of having used cannabis it had been in your system when they drug tested you on your job. So now, they would have promoted you. They could have given you a bigger pay raise or a bonus. But now you have this on your record, human resources, and then, or you might have to maintain a reputation. You're very conscious about you want a clean reputation in the world. You want to be publicly known as someone that didn't use drugs, that didn't need to alter their mental faculties in any way, shape, form whatsoever with a chemical or a substance, and they were relying on you for accuracy, for competency, and you were lying, you were making things up, you were taking, it was like you were promoting, you were putting out bad information or something. That would be another reason. Then if you're stupid enough to listen to some random person on the internet that says something, and you don't fact check it yourself, if you just take it for what they're saying, and not heavily really understand what's involved, like if they want to sell you a coin, okay, so they want to sell you a coin and they say, you buy this coin now, and in a year from now, it'll be double that much money. You'll double your money in a year. All you got to do is buy this coin, right? So you get online, you click, and you buy a coin, you transfer it over, you put it on your thumb drive, and you have a coin. But you just listen to somebody tell you to do that, and you believe them, right? But you don't look into what exactly is that you're doing. You think it's just this and this and this, and then you own it, and you're going to make all this money on it. But you're dumb if you do that and you buy that whatever they're selling just because they tell you it's going to be double. You're going to double your money in a year. Well, what's involved with that? How does that money get created, right? Where does that value come from? Why is it increasing in value? What's the value? What is that backed by? Is it backed by anything? Is there something that's solid that's behind it that represents it? If you need to, you can take possession of that some real thing, So the hype of you have to get into cryptos. You have to get into cryptos. Cryptos are the way. You'll make money. You'll get rich. Cryptos. Buy this coin. Buy that coin. It's going to go up. This is going to go up. Get in at the bottom. Hurry up. This is going to go up. You'll make so much money. You'll be rich. Get it ready overnight. Win the lottery. And you don't look into it. You don't really analyze it. You don't study up on it. You don't really super understand what you're doing and the timing and what it involves. And that. So your electricity provider, they have electricity coins, right? So you buy electricity coin, and that coin will always be that many kilowatt hours of power. So your coin that you buy from your crypto coin, you buy from your power company, it represents so many kilowatt hours of power. And you can change power companies and go some other power company and use that same token for electricity from that power company, the same amount, because it's a guild, right, of all the power companies. Or it might be like that crypto represents like a loaf of bread, right? That's so many ounces. It's so big in size. Its composition has to be a certain ingredient, number of ingredients in that. So it made a certain way, and that loaf of bread is that crypto token. And you buy that, it will always be a loaf of bread. Or you buy that potato coin, and that potato crypto coin will always be equal to a 10-pound bag of russet potatoes. You know, it will always be a russet coin. There will be a different potato coins, right? So it'll always be that. So I don't see what crypto does, right? Unless like you go to a casino, right? Let's say you're going to a casino and you go in the casino and there's a teller window, and you go and you take your credit card, or you write a check, or you take your ATM card and then buy the casino token, right? So you go to that casino and they have all that at one casino. They just use that crypto token for the slot machines, for the poker tables, for the blackjack, for the roulette, for all of the games in that whole casino. You don't use any real money. You use a token, and then when you're leaving, you can exchange that token back for credit for real money, dollars. And then they do the 1099 and that, so in miscellaneous. So I understand that cryptos are that way, right? But as far as like competing against the government, an independent currency system that's independent from the government. So the government doesn't know about it. It can't track it. You can't get taxes off of it. It's private. Whoever uses it, however much they use, it's between the party that's selling it and the party that's exchanging it for the loaf of bread or a sack of potatoes or a quart of oil or a gallon of gasoline or an ounce of olive oil or whatever, a bar of gold or a bar of silver. So that crypto will always represent that. Now, I can kind of see that happening in the future. I think maybe the central bank digital currency, once this pilot study, because all this crypto stuff, to me, Bitcoin and all that, to me, it looks like, this is just the government doing like a pilot study. They're doing something. They're trying to get the public. They're introducing the public to a central bank digital currency, so that the public will eventually get accustomed to that, used to that, and they'll migrate over from cash, right? It'll be like, well, if you have a garage sale or you have an AA meeting, or you're like you're a charity event, or you're like trying to, there's a person-to-person transaction, and you don't want to, there's nothing electronics involved. It's more of a barter situation, right? So cash might, anything that's cash now, that's normally people will do with cash, that might become silver and gold. So if they stop printing cash and they make it a CBDC, then people start using gold and silver. The only problem with that is that it have to be strictly barter gold and silver for strictly barter. You couldn't go just take your gold or silver to a dealer and then convert it into central bank digital currency, because then they're gonna see, then they're gonna go, okay, this is income, you have to show, so it'll be more inconvenient. So if you bought it at $10 an ounce, and now it's $20 an ounce, and you sell it, you'll have to pay the capital gains tax on that $10 that it went up, and in the 20 years that you were holding on to it, or however long you were holding on to the metal until it doubled in the currency units, dollar units. So the dollars, the paper dollars, the coins that are zinc and nickel and clad copper, all those coins, they may take longer to go away. So more that form of currency will be around a lot longer than the paper dollars. So they'll stop printing the paper ones, fives, tens, 20s, 50s, hundreds. They'll stop all that, and they'll make that to be a central bank digital currency, a CBDC. And that should more people should that be, is that that seems obvious to me, that's what all this crypto coins, digital currency, all that is to me. It won't, unless the government backs it, right? Unless the government involves itself with that, then it can be only used as something like that, barter, for people bartering. If they want to barter digital currencies with each other. But then there's taxes, right? So there's always going to be taxes, right? They'll always want tax money from everyone. And no matter how many different this currency, whatever coin, right, they make, right, that'll have to be over. They're going to know about it and going to want taxes off it. It's kind of like the bills and the notes and the system, the ACH, all that, someone's paying for that. The paper currencies and the coinage and all of the banking and the banking networks, the people that use it are paying for that. Anyone that uses a dollar anytime, they are paying a tax off of that. They just don't know it. But the government, it takes like time and effort and materials to print that money, and it costs money to print the money, right? And to circulate the money and have it distributed. It costs money to run a bank and a banking system, a network of different banks together. That's just not doing. The banks aren't doing that for free. Government's not running a treasury for free. There's not a Federal Reserve for free. The usage of the money over time, there's a certain amount that has to get taken off of that, the value of that, siphoned off to pay for itself. And it's hidden, right? You won't know. But inflation, so the thing about inflation is that, well, now if it's inflation, then people stop spending money. So the demand goes down on goods and services, and that the cure for high prices is high prices. So the high prices themselves becoming so high that cures the price, that the demand for the whatever widgets or service that everybody's wanting to use now, if that goes down and it becomes more like not as scarce, right? So there's more of it. If everybody stops driving and all the gas stations just have these big tanks full of fuel and they're not selling it, and the gas goes bad in the gas tanks, or if there's or if there's this people stop going out to eat at restaurants, or they stop buying new clothes, or they stop getting on planes and traveling for leisure, or they put off purchasing a new appliance or a new vehicle because they can't afford it, because they get laid off from their job, or there's a large medical expense that happens, so their loved one or their spouse has to have medical procedures done or be hospitalized. So there's a lot of monetary expenses in that, and then they can't afford to go and get on the plane and go to a resort, or they can't afford to go out on the town and get dinner, go to a restaurant, sit down, and have dinner. They can't afford that anymore, so they end up going to the grocery store more often. What was I going to say? Let me change this. Oh. There. That sounds goofy. Goofy McSchmoofy. I noticed since I've been living alone, right, being here in this house by myself, I haven't been bathing that much. So I don't bathe as often. I'm not bathing every day. I'm bathing like every 3 or 4 days, taking a shower. The problem was I was getting into a really good routine, of exercising and being physically active. And then this happened to my mouth, right? And it kind of affected my since after my thing with my mouth, I just wanted to rest and lay in bed and not be so physically active. So I stopped being physically active. And so when the final crown was mated to my original tooth, right, root of my mouth, the root of the tooth was still there with a portion of it standing up that received the cap was, the artificial tooth was put on top of that. That infection, something got inside, right, when that happened, and an infection started in it. It caused my mouth to get more and more inflamed, enlarged. So the inflammation kept increasing and increasing and increasing, and my side of my face was all bulgy, and it hurt and it throbbed, right? Every time my heart beat, on the systolic, I could feel the nerve of the tooth throbbing in my mouth, but it wasn't. It felt like right on the center of the inside of my tooth. So they gave me clindamycin. So the clindamycin, it's 300 milligram capsules. I take one every 6 hours, and that's for it's for 7 days, actually. So I'm thinking, well, if I take this, and I move my root canal, if I wait till it hurts, right? The pain has gone away. The discomfort's gone away. I'm still like numb right there on the side of right here on the side of my face is still numb, and my salivation on this side of my jaw is not. I'm not salivating like I should be, and then I have a kind of a metallic taste in the back of my mouth continuously, and it still has an area where it's still like bulging a little right at the base of my jaw right here, right between my in the inside of my mouth is still a little. It's still like I have trouble eating a little bit, and the flavor of my food is different now too. I notice the flavor, so I don't like going and having a general anesthetic done because of the discomfort involved. If I'm going to have a root canal and I say give me a general anesthetic, then I might not have the mental alertness and mental acuity capacity that I have now. So if I get a general anesthetic, it might make me weaker physically in the long run. I might get dementia earlier or Alzheimer's. Some will happen to me earlier as I age if I hadn't had the general anesthetic. So if I hadn't had general anesthetic, I might have had a better mental health in my elder years. So I'm like thinking, maybe I shouldn't have gas. Maybe they shouldn't do the sodium pentothal or whatever and put me out, because I'm thinking if he's going to do that and they're going to be like, yeah. So I don't know. It's like dental problems are like, it's like, well, that's another reason like not bringing someone else here, right? So if don't have a baby, don't have a child just because they'll have to go through what you've had to go through for dental stuff, right? You don't want that to happen to someone else. You don't want to put someone else through what you had to go through. So that's just another one reason. It's like, wow, you have this side of, that's what I'm saying. You have a side of the list, make a list, and on the pros and cons, right? Put on one side, these are all the reasons to have the child on this side. And this side, you put all the reasons not to have the child. So on the side, let's say, retain your family name, have a companion person to grow old with, to take care of you when you're older, to give someone over and teach them all the knowledge you have and the skills you have is in your profession or your whatever you do for your career. You could transfer that information to a child by educating them yourself. Or you think that you're special in that regard, for you have your family genes are allow for, like, you can do some specific kind of activity which is necessary for the well-being of the community, and that you have in your family line, you have a superior gene that will have those specific physical capabilities are genetic, that you'll pass that down, and there will be people in the future to like be the air traffic controller or farm and grow the certain kind of food and farm. There'll be a certain person that'll be around to keep the nuclear power plants operational and safe and functioning. There'll be people in the future to go to combat and fly in a jet fighter or operate a nuclear missile so that they can defend the country from a foreign invader. So you have all these reasons on this side of the list why you should have a child, right? Or you need a child there in the future so that they can take on your business. You can transfer your business over. So there's in that. But then the universe needs humans to be here for creating an archive for the aliens, or weird things about transhumanist kind of ideas where you're going to have your genome frozen under a and kept in a vault, right? So it'll be preserved, and then in the far future they can recombine your DNA into a surrogate and regrow you, and you have this opportunity to come back in the world and live another life, the same person, genetically the same person. So it's a clone of you. You're going to clone yourself in the future. So those are reasons here on this side of the list. Like dumb reasons too, like, oh, you want to impress your parents, or like your dad or your uncle saying, if you don't have a child, I'm not going to give you this, and you're not going to get anything for your inheritance. You're going to get out of the will. You're going to get zero. So you're like, whoa, I better have a kid, because if I don't have a kid, I won't get the money. I won't get the inheritance. So that'd be another dumb. But it's always like you're going to have a kid, like you're going to have a brand new Corvette, or you're going to have you're going to have some thing, right? You're talking about the child as if the child was a thing, an object that you want for your own personal, for something that's something that is a selfish reason, just for yourself. So, and that's dumb. That seems like that's dumb. But if you look on the other, you make a list. This is the reason it's not to have a child, because it's going to be another person that's going to have to die someday. There's a new person that they're going to have to die. They're living now. They know they're going to die, and they're living their life, and they're worried about when they're going to die and how they're going to die. And they see other loved ones pass away, and pets die, and they experience the trauma of being a child and living a life and having to go through different stages of growth and live in society, and all the things that happen, and physical things that can go wrong, health-wise, accidents that may or may not occur, that are chances, or any kind of chance of anything happening that would be awful or terrifying or horrible. That person would have to live through any of those experiences. Your list goes on and on and on and on. I see a very long list of reasons to be an antinatalist. It should be like no holds barred. It should be like, yeah, that's obvious, right? It should be like, and like, okay, these been people like throughout history. So where I'm going with this, I'm trying to get into antinatalism. I'm trying to like ease people into the idea of antinatalism. It shouldn't be, oh no, we're going extinct. Oh no, we're gonna all be gone. The Earth will be, it'll be just like barren. It'll look like Mars on the Earth. There won't be any humans around. Well, that'll be good. Then nobody will suffer. Because this side of the list says, this side of the list, you know, it would be like if the world were really a perfect place, if this was like a really great place to be alive, to be a human being, if everybody was like, if everybody all the time was never bothered by anything that was uncomfortable or unpleasant, or anybody ever any kind of suffered really miserably or horribly, that they had everybody had ample food and water and housing and entertainment, and they had health, and they're all fit. Everybody was physically fit, and they were kind to each other, and they were normal, and things were, the world became, over time, became more and more and more and more of a pleasant place to live, and the natural beauty of the earth. Every generation of people that came on the earth became more of a beautiful place, more habitable, more luxurious, more fair, more. If everything went that way, right? Well, that would be this side of the list. But this side of the list looks, in that regard, things don't look pretty good. I mean, if you look at all these little kids that are being born today, right? What kind of world are they going to grow up in? You know, you would want that. Oh, it's going to get better. People get healthier. Everybody, wealth will become more equally distributed. There will be more pleasant. People have more time off. They'll get more valuable experiences in their life. There will be more beautiful vistas to see. More beautiful flowers. There will be, the countryside will get cleaner, and people will live longer. Everybody will be healthier. There'll be more friendliness around everywhere. Everybody will be really friendly. But the world, it'll look like that. Start making this side of the list. You see what I'm saying? Why bring somebody here and they're going to have to deal with all this? What's the answer? It's not drive an electric car. It's not go vegan. It's not, will that be help? It's not use less oil. It's not it's just don't happen to begin in the first place. Don't make somebody here to have to go through this to start from the get-go. Is that, am I being, is that, that, why isn't that, is that like, it's, I don't know. Just a lot of hot air tonight. Let me go change the song. Oh, I'm going to cut this short. I got to go to the bathroom. I'll end the stream. I got to go start a stream, so I'm going to end this stream here. So, end.